My name is Sarah, and today I'd like to help you learn how to make Ukrainian Easter eggs, also known as Pysanky. And today I will be working from my home, and I have already started the design on this egg here. I've applied the wax to the lines that I want white. Which is the first step, and prior to that I've drawn on the design that I want with a 2H pencil, and now I'm pretty much ready to dip it into the yellow dye. So that's the next color, and here are a couple of things that you'll need before you get started.
So you'll want to be wearing your old clothes before you start dyeing your eggs. Okay, so here's the aniline dye that I will be using for this egg here. And I've stored it in a plastic cup, but you can also store them in mason jars. And anything that's watertight with a lid that can hold around 500 milliliters of fluid, and leaving space at the top for when your egg goes under the water for displacement. And I've covered the holes in this egg with wax so that when you dip it in the dye, no dye will leak into the egg. And that's a really important step. So make sure to cover the holes with wax before your first dyeing. So you just place it in, and I like to rotate it around. Some people will hold the egg under the dye, which is a standard practice. I like to, because mine's blown out, it's very light and will float on top. Boiled eggs will sink down. So it takes a couple of minutes. And you really do want to use a stainless steel spoon as well. I haven't tried a plastic spoon. If that's all you have, that should be fine. But I think you have more control with stainless steel, and I just really think they're really good for this purpose. And you can hold the egg under with your spoon, or make something to hold the egg under. And I'll show this one in real time so that you know just how long it takes for an egg to dye. And it will vary depending on the strength of your dye. And sometimes certain shells take up dye better than other shells, so it really is a unique experience with every egg. So I'm just removing the egg now just to see if it is done. It looks okay, but I will probably pop it back in the dye for another minute or a couple seconds just to make the color a little more vibrant. It's pretty vibrant right now, but I think I'll just finish it off for a couple more seconds. That looks to be about the color I like it. So when you're drying your egg, just pat it dry and try not to rub, but pat it dry quite quickly if you can, but not too quickly. And then you want to rinse your spoon and close your dye. You can always throw your spoon in the sink, but always close your dye. It's a good habit to get into. So back at the workstation, you want to light your candle and proceed to heat your kiska, the metal tip of your kiska, and heat up your wax If you're using a regular beeswax, now is the time to add carbon to it from the flame to make it black beeswax. And you can just scrape the black section right off of your wax. And heat the tip of your kiska in the flame. You can also break off a piece of wax and place it in the container and let it melt. I like to wipe off the end of the kiska. It is very hot, so if you're going to use a paper towel, be aware of that. And I do that just so there are no drops that come off the outside of the metal onto your egg. I find it gives a cleaner approach. So it's writing really well on paper and ready to move on to the egg. So for this process, you might want to have some newspaper laid down underneath the egg. So when you put your egg down on the flat surface, it's protected from minor cracks. Because you are working with an egg, so if it bumps up against a hard surface, there is a chance of small hairline cracks or even bigger ones. You can hold the kiska like a pencil and find the way that's most comfortable for you. I often use my baby finger of the working hand to steady the whole hand while you're applying the wax. It kind of acts like a mini tripod and can make drawing the lines much easier. And if you find that your kiska stops working as well as it was and the wax isn't flowing, you can just use your pin and stick it in the end and stick it in the container, wiggle it around a little bit, and hopefully it will start the wax flowing again. So I just dipped this egg really quickly into the orange dye, and I just did it for the cross, which is the only orange part of the egg. So I'm going to now dip it into the next dye, which would be green. And here we go.
So the same principle applies with any dye. And the funny thing about Ukrainian dyes, these aniline dyes, is that the green comes before red. So after orange, if orange is in your color design, if there's red and green, you would actually do the green first. For some reason the red covers the green, and it works fine, so I guess it's just the way these dyes work.
But always check with the labels in case your dye is different from my dye.
It might take a little while because we're covering orange, So you can see that it's not turning green very quickly.
So now that I've reached the desired color, I basically am just going to fill in all of the spaces that I want green in the final design. And this egg has a lot of those. There's quite a bit of green in it. So after I'm finished with filling in the green areas, I will be putting it into the red dye. And there's not much to fill in with red. So this egg is ready to be dipped into its final color, which is black, and I will not have to apply any wax on top of the black because it won't be going into any dye after that. So we're almost ready to reveal the final product. So you just want to light your candle, and I've chosen to show a beeswax candle here. And I will be taking my pin and heating the tip. And if you're using a safety pin, you want to hold the clasp so you don't burn your fingers, because metal will conduct heat very quickly. And you just want to poke a hole where the hole is covered with wax. And you want to make sure both ends have been reopened. And the reason you do this is so that the egg doesn't explode when it's heated up. And there's a risk of this because heat will produce pressure in the egg that will need to be released. And the holes provide this pressure release. They let the hot air out of the egg. So here I'm just heating up the egg and holding it around 2 inches above the flame. The height will vary with every situation depending on the size of the flame and the candle you're using. You want to make sure that the egg doesn't get too hot, just hot enough to melt the wax. And you can ensure that it doesn't get too hot just by moving it back and forth and not letting the egg touch the flame. And once you see that the wax is wet, you can use your paper towel and wipe away the wax and reveal your design. And if you find that you didn't heat it up enough, you can just put it over the flame again and work your way all around the egg. This really is the fun part because you get to see the results and feel the satisfaction of all the hard work that you put into it. And if you notice any pencil lines that you need to remove, you can just melt some wax, apply it to your egg, and then heat that bit up.
So here is the final egg with the wax removed from it. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial and that you learned everything that you need to know about dyeing and applying the wax to your eggs. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.